and he with the pump fake and one dribble inside to the long two, and he makes it. That's been his game his whole career. But look at him smiling. We go, my bad. The long two.
Welcome to another episode of The Long Two. I am Pete Rogers. He is Natty Wallach, and we are a Carmelo Stanthony podcast, but occasionally talk fantasy basketball. Natty, how you doing?
I'm good, dude. How you doing?
I am doing well as well. It was a good day today. Relaxing. We're trying something new with the pupper, which is normally he takes like a lengthier afternoon nap, but we tried keeping him up in most of the afternoon to see whether or not that wears him out, and he has less energy in the evening time. So we'll see if it pans out.
Well, Godspeed, dude. In my experience, puppies just manufacture energy.
They do. So we can put our best foot forward, and ultimately it'll fail. I want to get to All-Star Weekend because A, we're getting close to the point where we're too far away from it for anyone to care about our takes, and B, because there's actually a lot of good and bad to talk about. But first, I figured we'd use the opening of the show to talk some fantasy basketball, since that's what we're all here for, and throw out a few waiver darlings to target before the, quote, second half of this season. So, Natty, why don't you start us off? I've got three. I don't know how many you got, but who's someone that you are looking to snag off waivers as we approach? It's not really the second half of the season since we have 30 games left, but
yeah,
still, I guess, post All-Star break.
Yeah, this is like all the narratives shift because we've had the trade deadline, and now the teams that are out of it are going to really focus on different parts of their rosters, most likely.
And you're getting some buyout guys, like your boy Reggie Jackson just got bought out and is heading to the Clippers.
I saw that. Yeah, it is. It's just another good reason to go pick up Bruce Brown.
Because is this just a perfect segue right into your first guy?
Well, he wasn't on my list. I also have three, but I'm just so fucking upset with the Pistons right now that I'm it's so depressing. Like, why is Derrick Rose on this team? Out of everybody, he's the one I like the least because he's a bull and he will always be a bull. Whatever, it's fine.
All right, give me your first dude. Yeah, give me your first guy.
My first dude is a guy that I drafted in a rookie draft several years ago. Yeah, except he's been garbage ever since then. It's the Mad Monk, Malik Monk. Yeah, that was a real big. I loved him, though. I just thought that he was going to be a great sharpshooter. Anyway, since January 20th of this year, and the Monk is now coming off the bench, he is averaging 28 minutes per game, 17.3 points per game, which is number one on Charlotte since the 20th, by the way. He's shooting 47% from the floor, 38.6% from three. He's getting 3 boards, 2 dimes. Players on the season who have a similar stat line to 17, 3, and 2 are Terry Rozier, Jamal Murray, and Colin Sexton. So the Monk, if he keeps coming off the bench and he, continues just being a spark plug scorer, then he should be a good pickup for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like that, especially as Charlotte continues to kind of make a playoff push. What's their current seeding? Let me bring up the NBA seeding.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So Charlotte is in the 11th seed right now. They're 18 and 36. They're behind the Bulls, who have 19 wins, and the Wizards, who have 20. Orlando's in the 8th seed. They're 24 and 31. It's not impossible. But
he was a young guy with a lot of pedigree. And so you're excited to see the fact that things hopefully are starting to kind of click in his third season. I mean, that's the thing too with these young players. Like, obviously there are some names that come out of college game ready, and there are other guys who would take some time to kind of find their footing in the NBA. And when they when things start kind of clicking for them, that's a great time to buy them.
We've also written about the Monk on fake teams before, and he was just used so poorly in his rookie year. And the new regime in Charlotte is doing well, and I think this is a good move to put him in a just go and score
Mm.
sixth man kind of role. And Charlotte has nothing to lose, so they might have a really nice second half. The Bulls are still stupid. The Wizards, who knows? Like their defense is so bad that they can just lose to anybody on any given night. The Pistons, I don't want to talk about it. The Knicks, 17-38, could still possibly do it, but they won't, obviously. So it sort of seems like Orlando is maybe the best team out of all of the teams maybe vying for the 8th seed. So I don't know. I like Charlotte the most out of those teams though.
Yeah. My first guy is Elfrid Payton, who I love for two reasons. 78% owned on ESPN. Over the last month, he's averaging 8.5 assists and 1.9 steals, which are two stat categories that he is exceeding in. He's tied for 5th in steals in this season and 13th in assists. And finding those two guys in one person, one neat package that's possibly available in your league. 78 is pretty high. But if you add 11 points and the 5.5 rebounds, you're talking stats that are only being replicated by LeBron, Jokic, and Lonzo.
Nice.
So I dropped your boy Jeremy Grant for Elfrid Payton last week. I know it's shocking, but I can't
Jeremy's
say
top 30 over the last month. You jerk.
I just have needed assists and steals, and guess what? Elfrid Payton gives that to me in
He sure
spades.
does. He sure does. Yeah, he's a nice little surprise on the Knicks. The Knicks have looked less stupid recently.
That's a bold statement coming from you. That the Knicks should really take that to heart.
Well, they should, because they no longer seem like the worst run team in the league. That seems like the Cleveland Cavaliers now.
Right. Especially since their coach is getting pushed out / doesn't want to be there /
I mean, from what I've read, Beeline doesn't want to be there either.
No one wants to be there.
Yeah, I had been optimistic for his hiring because I loved him at Michigan, and I thought having a coach like that for their young guards would be a good thing. But he seriously hasn't worked out. And the Cavaliers, they're going to get rid of the coach, and JB Bickerstaff is there. He'll probably be the interim coach for the rest of the season. They might buy out Tristan Thompson. They traded for Andre Drummond, and Kevin Love is still there. And it's like, even if Bickerstaff becomes the head coach, so what? He's still Kevin Love doesn't like playing with the guards, let alone for the coaches. So I think there's a chance that they could end up as the worst team in the NBA this year.
But yeah, the Elfrid Payton being on the Knicks, despite the fact that the Knicks are a big market team, they're a bad big market team, which often I feel allows players to kind of slip through the cracks in fantasy and on the waiver wire because people just aren't paying attention to these teams. So he is someone who I think because he's not getting as much pub, someone who might still be available. And if he is, go get him because he's putting up stat lines that are only being replicated by a few people.
For sure. Dimes. Very valuable this time.
Very valuable. Who's another guy you're targeting on waivers?
Okay. I guess I should say that Malik Monk is 23% owned, so he's available.
Oh, he is out there.
Yeah. Well, because everybody's had a bad taste in their mouth since they drafted him 3 years ago. And now, another guard. Actually, I have 3 shooting guards. That's funny. Tim Hardaway Jr., 49% owned. He's 310 on the player rater for the season, so he's top 125. His season line is 14 plus points per game, 3 boards, 2 dimes. He's shooting 40% from 3 on 6.8 3-point attempts per game. He has 143 total 3-pointers made this year, which is 13th most in the NBA. 11 other players this year are averaging 6 plus 3-point attempts and have a 40 plus 3-point percentage, as does Hardaway. Davis Bertans, Duncan Robinson, the Big Cat, Bojan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari, JJ Redick, Evan Fournier, Brandon Ingram, Marcus Morris, and Landry Shamet. He's having a really good season, Tim Hardaway. He's
kind
27.
of out of nowhere, I feel like.
Yeah, so quietly. And it's his usage might be a little bit inflated because at certain points this season Luka's been out and at other points the Unicorn's been out. So he's been a nice third option on the team. And he's just very, very quietly had a very efficient season. And like I said, those shooting stats, not that many people are sinking threes like he is.
Yeah.
So if you need a shooter, go get him.
Yeah, the 40% while shooting almost 7 attempts, that's pretty nice. That's opening you up to any given night he could just suddenly get hot and you're talking about a huge offensive performance.
Yeah, I mean, some of these other dudes, like Gallinari, Brandon Ingram, by the way, Jesus, what a fucking fantastic season he's having.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Let's all revel in the fact that you and I were on the Pelicans and on the Brandon Ingram resurgence train from the word go.
Absolutely.
Because whenever you have an opportunity to revel in your own success, you have to make the most of it.
Dude, and I was not really a Lonzo believer, at least with this team, and he's been fired recently. The team looks good. Having said that, they're 23-32. The Memphis Grizzlies are in the 8th seed in the West, and they're 28-26. So it's definitely not impossible. And Zion just looks.
I mean, you almost have to root for a Pelican 8th seed. I mean, yes, the Grizzlies at the 8th seed would be a lot of fun.
Oh, dude. Too. Pelicans versus Lakers in the first round.
Would be amazing.
We want. Yeah.
That's the only matchup you want in the first round. I'd watch
Who
every
cares
second
about
of
anything
that.
else?
Yeah, I'd watch every second of that match.
Yeah. It would have such a huge rating for
oh my God, it'd be astronomical.
Oh, man, that would be
There's
great.
so many
that would
storylines.
But that would mean Memphis doesn't make it. So,
right. Which would be a bummer. But Memphis, you know what? You'll have your way. You'll have a long future in the playoffs. Don't worry about it. You got a lot of young guys there. You got a good team coming.
So will the Pelicans, hopefully.
I understand, but I need to see the Pelicans play the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs the year after they had a massive franchise-altering change.
It is. The synchronicity of it all is
beautiful,
really amazing.
Plus, you also have
the 4 teams.
The LeBron passing the torch to Zion in a who's the biggest, most physical presence on the court that we all can't believe is so phenomenally athletic despite their size.
Well, I'm still on the Giannis train for that one, but I agree. There's no one has really looked like LeBron until now, coming into the league anyway. He's just so big. It's crazy.
And it's just had an equally impressive. I mean, I was listening to some podcast where it's Zion's first 10 games are just unparalleled by any. I think there's 3 players in NBA history who have matched what he's been putting up. Anyways,
his passing is really good.
We could turn every podcast into a Zion podcast.
We should. Zion and Melo. That's just
that's the name of the game.
They should play together. I hope they do.
Why are we talking about anything else?
The 4 teams that are vying for the 8th seed in the West are Memphis, who's currently occupying the spot, Portland, San Antonio, and the Pelicans. That's a nice 4-team race.
That is a nice.
That's pretty good. I think the West looked pretty shitty earlier this year, but the teams have sort of righted themselves. I mean, shit, even Phoenix is still technically in it, I suppose. It is, and if Steph comes back, who knows what happens in Golden State?
Yeah, I don't know if that's happening. Maybe though.
I don't want it to. I'm still sort of pissed that Draymond's been playing so much, even though it's very profesh and cool and sets an awesome example for the young guys on the team. And Dre's just a soldier.
Yeah,
I still if he gets hurt, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed off.
You'll be very happy with my second player to go get on waivers. It's been a while since we brought up his name and demanded you to go at him, but Brook Lopez continues to kill it and be ignored. I was amazed by this. He's the 37th player on ESPN's Player Rater this season. 37.
I hear he's pretty good. That's so
puts him ahead of guys like Joel, Vucevic, K-Love, Chris Stapps, Paul George. He's 71% owned. And like Liam Neeson, Lopez offers a very particular set of skills, mainly three-pointers and blocks, something that rarely you find in one player. He's averaging 1.4 threes a game and 2.6 blocks, plus 4.5 boards and 10.6 points. I don't know what it is that you're talking yourself into not picking him up. I don't know why he's not closer to like 85% ownership, but he probably is available in your league, and you probably should go get him.
Yeah, he was shooting really poorly earlier this season, but he's been doing a lot better recently. And I sort of feel like Brolo and Marcus Smart both sort of suffer from some kind of weird zeitgeist like neither of them are owned as much as they should be, and they give people really valuable stats, and they're never owned as much as they should be. I sort of wonder whether it's due to like the roster constructions across all ESPN leagues. Like maybe they just really negatively impact those two players for some reason. But yeah, it's weird. Brolo is a big that gets you threes, and everyone should have been owning him for the past 3 years.
Yeah, I think the Marcus Smart is your really good point, because it's their players who give you a solid baseline across all stats, but they don't stand out so amazingly in any particular one that you feel like they demand a roster spot. I mean, obviously 70% ownership, that's a good ownership. Like, we're not talking about him being like under 15%, but the fact that he isn't exceptional anywhere, I feel like people, or they're like, oh, he's a big man and he's only averaging 4.5 boards. Like, come on, that's not what I need right now. But it's like, yeah, but 37th in player rating. It's those blocks and his ability to hit threes can give you just a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the fact that he doesn't get boards like a bunch of other bigs does, like, colors everybody's perception.
But if you treat him as like a shooting guard, if you
Right.
don't pick him up for the purpose of boards, if you have a balanced enough team that you don't need boards from him, that if all you're looking for is scoring and blocks, I mean, 2.6 blocks on the season, and I saw for the last week he's averaging like 4, which is, those are numbers that are very hard to come by.
Like, Brolo is who I want Matisse Thybulle to grow up into. Just like,
I like it.
A dude who can get you multiple blocks a game and sink multiple threes a game, because those guys are rare. And Brook Lopez is a big who can play with Giannis, and that means that you can't live in the paint, and you have to be okay with that. And Lopez has never been a great rebounder, but he was a guy like in Brooklyn who was getting you 20 and 10 a night. So he's always been a good player. He reinvented himself. And maybe that's what it is that people thought of him one way, and they see the numbers and they're like, oh, well, that's not what I was expecting.
That's a good idea.
But he's been doing this for long enough. And also he has been like under 30% owned at times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That last season, we were high on him. Who's your final guy that people should be adding off waivers?
All right. Well, my final dude, I hope I'm not stealing him from you. He is 45% owned. It is Malik Beasley, the new 2 guard for the Wolves.
Nice.
He's 22-6-3 since the trade to Minnesota. He just looks absolutely fucking fantastic on that team. And everyone always sort of knew that he was good in Denver. And whenever someone would go down and he would get more minutes, he'd deliver. So this is a really nice but expected surge. And I think because everybody was expecting it, that's one of the reasons why his ownership has shot up so quickly. Or maybe it's just because all the Timberwolves fantasy fans are like, oh my God, a good player on our team.
Oh my God, suddenly someone we could have on our fantasy team that we support.
Yeah, totally. So he just seems like a great fit there, and it's awesome to watch.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. He's definitely someone you should add. Spoiler alert, he will be brought up in our studs and duds and not in a positive way. But
oh my God,
don't let that dissuade you from going to get him, because you're right. Because we've seen Malik Beasley in the past thrive in a starting role, and he just was never able to find that in Denver. And now that he has that in Minnesota, he's shown that he can run with it and give you a lot of fantasy production. So I love that addition. And I'll segue right into my third and final guy, because they're a nice one too, Natty, because these are two guys who got moved at the deadline, who have, in the 3 games that they played with their new teams, made a huge impact. And my guy, 47% owned, Jay Crowder for the Heat. Since joining Miami, he's averaged 18 points, 7.3 boards, 1.3 assists, 2 steals on 30 minutes coming off the bench. And I like players, both in Crowder and Beasley, who teams made moves for, since it means they feel like there's a real role for them to take advantage of. And so far, Crowder has done exactly that for Miami, and he's very likely available. And the Heat have, especially if you want to do a start and play, the Heat have a real cushy schedule this week for the start of the second half of the NBA season, playing the Hawks and the Cavs. I think on Thursday and Saturday or something like that. So Jay Crowder there's a real chance that the hot start that he already got off to with Miami is going to continue into this week.
I will say that Atlanta's defense might be better.
It's true. They do have Clint Capella.
Can't possibly be worse.
Can't possibly be worse.
Yeah. And Dwayne Dedman. So that will actually be an interesting game to watch. Yeah, that's an awesome pick. Jay Crowder's like one of those solid players that just seems to have been on like 2/3 of the teams in the NBA.
Yeah. But no, through no fault of his own. Like Shaq,
right? Teams kind of trying to get him.
Right, exactly. Like Shaq bounced around the league towards the second half of his career, and that was just because he kept signing and all that jazz. Jay Crowder just was like signs with the team, and then another team is like, oh, we really want, he's exactly the player we want, trade. And then he'll hit free agency, kind of sign a nice contract. And then like halfway through the season, the team's like, oh, this is exactly the player who we want, trade.
So here's the team he's joining. Let's look at the Miami Heat roster real fast. Kendrick Nunn and Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Iguodala, Derek Jones Jr., Jay Crowder, Kelly Olynyk, Bam, and Myers Leonard. That's a tough team to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Jay and Iggy being out there at the same time is going to be like, assuming Iguodala is actually himself and not
with
just a
Jimmy
shell of
buckets.
himself.
That's
a
tough lineup to do anything on.
Like that's real rough. And also they will have the ability to like put Jimmy at the 1 basically, and then run out like a seriously crazy, like it could be Jimmy, Duncan Robinson, Iggy, Jay Crowder, and Bam. That's a pretty tough wave to go against.
They're going to make noise in the East, especially since, and we'll segue into All-Star break after we all have to take a quick break for some advertisements, but especially since the All-Star game kind of showed us maybe how you can slow down Giannis.
I know. If you have like other incredible players, I would just like to asterisk that
there is a template there.
Sure.
So we'll talk about the All-Star break, but first let's take a quick ad break. Okay, so the NBA All-Star game they added a whole new scoring methodology gameplay, which was basically, for those who don't know or who didn't watch, it was first 3 quarters, you just play normal games, but the score resets after each one. And then you tally the total of those 3 quarters. And for the 4th quarter, add 24 to remember Kobe to the highest score, no time. It was first team to that total. So I think it was 57 was what it turned out to be. So first team to 57, no time limit, go. And I have to say, it made the 4th quarter not only wildly entertaining, but it finally seemingly solved the age-old question of how to make players care. Because it looked like a playoff game in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. Which is to say, like, seriously messy and grindy and dirty.
And, like, people
and
caring and,
not
like, defense.
that beautiful
Giannis
offensively.
swatted the shit out of LeBron twice.
Yeah.
And
Well, we said that everyone was going to play hard for Kobe. And that's exactly what this fucking game looked like.
But even, like, the first three quarters were kind of like, all right, you get in the lane and defense just kind of like waves their arms and lets you drive by, get the bucket. The fourth quarter, though, it felt like a game much more than we've ever seen, or at least I've ever seen from an all-star game or any kind of like celebratory in sports. Like the Pro Bowl is fucking garbage. Like I would love for the NFL to like somehow fix it like this so that you get a fourth quarter where and the playing to a score I thought was awesome, because even though it eventually was won on a free throw, which is kind of dumb. We should amend the rules so that can't happen.
Hey, the University of Michigan won a national title game on a free throw. How dare you?
Well, I mean, that's different. That's still dumb. But I love it. I love taking the time restriction out of the way, and it's just like, let's go for buckets. I mean, LeBron pulled up at half court trying to win it, and if that had gone in, that would have been incredible.
The coolest thing was seeing who LeBron chose to have as his like quote unquote playoff closing squad, because it was CP3.
Of course.
It was also fun to watch Team Giannis just go at Harden, which was ridiculous. Giannis's team maybe wasn't constructed that great, but
well, it was like you looked in the playoff moment of death, like Giannis's team, they would cut to LeBron's bench, and you're like, oh shit, man, I wish Jason Tatum or Luka Doncic was on the court right now. Like LeBron had all of these guys just sitting on the bench, whereas like Giannis, I mean, should Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam be? Should Kyle Lowry be there?
But again, this like they were trying their hardest. Like they chose the dudes that they thought could actually help them win. I also sort of feel like, did Luka have a minutes restriction? Or like, because there's other stuff going on. This is an exhibition game. And while money for charity was at stake, and while reps were at stake, and while honor was at stake because you're trying to honor Kobe, like you're not trying to fucking hurt people either.
I mean, I did love Nick Nurse basically playing Joel Embiid as much as possible.
Yeah, I don't.
Mild strategy there.
I kind of, when that was going on, I was like, oh shit, wait, Embiid in Toronto? Because Toronto's going to lose their bigs. And if Philly doesn't do well, and like Toronto could send stuff back.
I would like to amend my Ben Simmons is the one who's going to get traded. It's Joel Embiid's the one who's going to get traded.
Like if you ran Philly, who would you trade?
I mean, I had always thought that I would trade Joel because he seems to be the one that the fan base is most loyal with, but that seems to not be true anymore. And if I was looking at a pure player skill point, it would be Ben Simmons. I would build my team around Ben Simmons. I'd basically just create what Milwaukee has with Ben Simmons.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't break it up. Like they were one crazy bounce away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and who knows what happens then. Like I think you can build around those two. The Simmons not being able to shoot threes sometimes gets hyperbolic. They're a dangerous playoff team when everything slows down in the postseason, and when defense really matters a hell of a lot more. Like they're going to be incredibly tough. And I know everyone's down on them right now, but these are the dog days of the NBA. You know, like the oxygen has gone out of the room. People are a little bit bored. They're a little bit tired. And now that we've had this break, like I assume Philly's going to come out guns blazing and just hopefully harness how pissed off they are to remind everyone, we almost made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. We were Kawhi's crazy basketball bounce away from going to the finals, or to the Eastern Conference Finals, rather.
That's true. So Natty, what does Aaron Gordon need to do to win the dunk contest? Because last time I checked, clearing someone who is 7'6" and dunking the basketball, pretty fucking impressive.
This just sort of reminded me of the Oscars Best Picture snafu from
Good.
what
Look
was
at you
that, 2 years
pulling
ago,
in
whatever.
some pop
Well,
culture.
the judges fucked up. You know, like
Hardcore.
they had all talked and were like, okay, well, we're gonna let them tie so that we can get more dunks or whatever, and then someone screwed up. I don't care. Like the dunk contest, much like the home run derby, like it's cool in the moment, but I absolutely don't fucking remember like most of the people that
Except
won
for the
those
fact that
things.
there are dunks. I mean, I guess maybe it's more you remember dunks more so than like who has won. But like, you can't tell me you don't remember Vince Carter's "It's Over," Vince Carter's hanging from the rim, Michael Jordan going from the free throw line, Aaron Gordon earlier, and Zach LaVine's battle. Like, it just seems crazy to me that Aaron Gordon put together like two of the best dunk performances we've seen at the contest and has yet to win any of them. And the fact that the judges were like giving away 50s until it was crunch time, they're like, oh shit, we can't keep giving everyone 50s. Which I was listening to Bill Simmons's podcast, and he just said that the dunk contest should just be scored out of 100, and that just gives so much more range. And so you're not stuck on basically like every dunk is either a 48 or anywhere between a 48 and a 50. So either judges need to get more specific, 50 needs to mean more, or make it 100, and now you have a lot more leeway, and you're not going to have this point where it's like we're in the finals and we're giving 50s to everyone. It's like, oh shit, when Aaron Gordon does something amazing, we're gonna have to give him a 49 because can't have another 50.
Well, let me come at it from the other way and say that this was perfect because it encapsulates Aaron Gordon. Everyone agrees that he's good, but he's not a winner. So, like, he has all the promise and potential in the world, and all of it looks like it's been completely wasted in Orlando. He's still really young. Everyone wants him to play somewhere else, though, except for Orlando. And he's, I don't know, like a professional sports player shouldn't get this upset about nonsense awards. Like it's
Except
a little
for the fact
bit.
that these are all like hyper competitive people, and if you feel like you've been wronged, then you have every right to be like, I've been wronged.
If you're that hyper competitive, then work on your game in the off season more and like take a bigger hand in getting personnel. Like there's I'm not going to cry
Natty
for people
has no
in
sympathy
like the
for
skill
anyone.
contest because while the NBA does their all-star game better than the other sports, it's still like complete exhibition nonsense. So it's like it's supposed to be fun, and if people start bitching and moaning about it, then it instantly for me it just becomes like, oh well, I don't care. I'm not going to think about something so insignificant. If you want to whine about it, then you do that. I don't care. Because like I said, like, yeah, we remember some dunks. I remember MJ's dunks, but I don't know who won the dunk contest 5 years ago. I don't know who won the home run derby 5 years ago. I guess I could figure it out if I thought about it, but I'm not going to care this much. The All-Star game is interesting to me. Everything else, though, like the skills contest, I don't give a fuck. Are you kidding me? But it's nice for the people that are there. Like, I think that if I had been in the room when Gordon was doing this, then I'd probably care about it a lot more because it's much more visceral and you can see it. And obviously, jumping over Taco Fall is crazy. Like maybe a part of me just thinks that that's impossible, and so he cheated.
I mean, it is absurd. Like, the guy is 7'6", 7 feet tall. That's fucking ridiculous to be able to clear that. Anyway,
I just wish that, I wish that Aaron Gordon didn't feel like he needed to win this to have some kind of recognition.
Well, he's stuck in
because he can
Orlando.
Be a good player.
What's he gonna do?
Right, exactly. So it's like if he was almost anywhere else, like maybe he'd look, if not better, at least different. Because he just looks so boring down there now.
That's fair. All right, let's wrap up with some studs and duds for the week. It's been a while, but since the NBA is back, we are back with studs and duds. And what do we got? Each week We have a stud, someone who is going to have a strong fantasy week. And each week we have a dud, someone who's going to have a bad fantasy week. And so far, Natty, you have been downright throttling me. You're up 10-6, and I am getting crushed at 7 and 9. But I'm going to get to wins this week and get back to 500. I promise you that. And I will start with my stud this week, who will be CJ McCollum. I'm kind of speaking this into existence since he's on my fantasy team, and you always want him to have a good performance. But he faces the Pelicans and the Pistons, both at home. That's a nice schedule for me to come after the break. Well rested. Let's see CJ put up some points.
First of all, how dare you for saying that the Pistons are an easy matchup? Up yours. I'm so torn. I want to see Portland in the playoffs, and I want to see San Antonio in the playoffs, and I want to see the Pelicans in the playoffs. I guess fuck Memphis. But yeah, I'm with you. I hope CJ has a really good second half. My stud, I'm just going with it. Fucking Zion. He gets to play Portland and Golden State.
So God. See, this is how you are up on me. Is I'm like us. The Trailblazers have a great schedule, but I'm not going to pick Dame. I'll pick CJ McCollum. You're just like, fuck it, we're going Zion. Whatever, top 10 player in the league right now.
Well, Dame's injured, right? So
That's
CJ
true.
should have a bigger role, and Melo should have a bigger role, and maybe it'll just be maybe we both should have said Melo. We should just say Melo and Zion for the rest
Melo
of the year.
just for the rest of existence.
We also could have mentioned Bradley Beal, who gets to play against the Cavs and the Bulls. God,
Whoa.
that's nice.
That's a good stretch for him. My dud, I already alluded to it. It's Malik Beasley. He had a hot start with the T-Wolves, averaging 19 fantasy points per game since joining them. But he faces the Celtics and Nuggets. And the only thing I'm worried about is that he could have a revenge game versus Denver, which would ruin it for me. But both those teams, if you take away the revenge aspect, both those teams are very hard to put big performances on. So I think that he is going to cool down quite a bit for the remainder of this week.
I love your reasoning, which is why I chose D'Angelo Russell as my dud.
Beautiful.
I think people have kind of been talking some shit about Boston recently, and they're going to be a team that is going to try to get at least the second seed. They're at 38 wins. Toronto's at 40. Milwaukee's at 46. So if they can get the second seed, then they get to go up against like Brooklyn or Orlando, whichever, or some other like weaker team. If they're the third seed, though, they'll probably go up against Indiana. I don't think they want that.
Right.
So I think they're just going to try to tear people to pieces. And the Timberwolves, while they do look new and are exciting, also still suck. So, DAR doesn't play defense at all. And I think he's just going to get eaten up by Boston. And then Denver, I just don't think that the T-Wolves can keep up with Denver. I think when Jokic's numbers keep getting better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And now he's looking like last year Jokic.
Yeah. All of that early season angst that people had about Jokic is dissipated.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he looks like a monster right now. Yeah. And they are in the second seed in the West. The Clippers are in the third, then Utah, then Houston, OKC, Dallas, then Memphis. It is, man, Denver could get the number one seed in the West because the Lakers only have 41 wins. So if Denver goes on a streak, who knows?
The West is going to be fun to watch how it plays out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the Clippers, let's say that they get Tristan Thompson. They're still sort of undersized. Tristan has played in the playoffs before, and he's a very useful player, but you still don't have someone as tall as Gobert. You still don't have someone who can really go up against, Joker.
Yeah.
Do you have someone who can really go up against Hassan Whiteside? I don't know.
It'll be a battle. No, it'll be fun to watch. We talked about it throughout this show, but that 8th seed battle, the top seeds battle, it's all going to be exciting. Awesome. Well, there you go. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. We are there, the Fake Teams podcast channel, so go find us there. Make sure to leave a review. Give us 5 stars because you love us. And if you leave a review, drop a question. Ask us some fantasy basketball advice, and we'll be happy to answer it on the show. Follow us on Twitter at The Long Two Podcast. We will be back at you next week. Natty, until then, enjoy yourself.
Dude, enjoy the week. And am I going to see you in the Fake Teams baseball draft tomorrow night?
Oh, you're damn right I'll be there, not knowing what I'm doing. This is.
Well, hey, you should read some of the Fake Teams fantasy baseball content because it's been awesome so far. Have a good week, man.